So today is the second part of the spiritual path. Now the first thing a follower of the Buddha do is take precepts. So when a person takes precepts, he becomes a follower of the Buddha, or he becomes a Buddhist. And a person who follows the Buddha simply takes refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And so when a person takes refuge in the three gems, he becomes an upasaka. If he is a man, he becomes an upasaka, and if she is a woman, she is called upasika. And upasaka or upasika has something to follow or to practice. So as the follower of the Buddha, a person who takes refuge in the three gems is expected to practice the teachings of the Buddha. And Buddha gave his followers a way of practice based on three stages: morality or Sīla, concentration or Samadhi, and wisdom or Panya. So these three steps are to be taken one by one, and they cannot be skipped. So one must take the first step first, and then second step, and third step. The first step in this spiritual path to eradication of mental defilements is Sīla, moral conduct or virtue. So an upasaka or upasika is expected to possess pure Sīla or pure moral conduct. And once the Buddha said, by how much is an upasaka virtuous, or an upasaka becomes morally disciplined? And Buddha said, when an upasaka abstains from destruction of life, from taking what is not given, from sexual misconduct, from false speech, and from taking intoxicants, by this much is an upasaka virtuous, or an upasaka becomes a morally clean person. So an upasaka or upasika is expected to keep these 5 precepts. Now, before we understand the 5 precepts, we must first understand what Sīla means. Sīla is translated as moral conduct or virtue, but we should understand how the word is defined in the ancient commentaries. So Sīla is defined as non-diffusion of bodily actions, etc. Now when people break these rules, when people kill, steal, and so on, the bodily actions and verbal actions are said to be scattered. Now Sīla keeps these actions, bodily actions and verbal actions, together or coordinated. So they are not scattered when a person keeps Sīla and abstains from killing living beings and others. So Sīla is defined as non-diffusion or non-scattering of bodily actions, etc. Sīla is also defined as a basis or a receptacle. A basis for what? A receptacle for what? A basis or receptacle for wholesome states, kusala, dhammas. So long as we keep Sīla, we are holding the wholesome states in our minds. And so Sīla is like a receptacle of wholesome states. The moment we break our Sīla, we lose the wholesome state. So Sīla is defined as a basis or a receptacle for wholesome states. And what is the function of Sīla? Now, the function of Sīla is described as to destroy unvirtuousness or to destroy misconduct. When a person keeps Sīla, he is destroying or actually avoiding unvirtuousness or avoiding misconduct. So, to destroy means to avoid, not let unvirtuousness or misconduct happen. So the function of Sīla is to destroy or to do away with misconduct or unvirtuousness. We can describe it in another way, and that is, the function of Sīla is to restrain or to control bodily and verbal actions. So long as we keep Sīla, our bodily actions are controlled and our verbal actions are controlled, our speech is controlled. Controlled means we do not do what is wrong by bodily actions or by speech. And it is important to note here that Sīla is the control of bodily and verbal actions and not of mind. Now, mind is involved in the control of bodily actions and verbal actions, because without mind you cannot control. But what is meant here is Sīla is involved only with bodily actions and verbal actions. That means even though you may say kill in your mind some living being, so long as you do not kill by your bodily action or by asking another to kill, your Sīla is intact. You do not break the precept. So by thinking only, you are not breaking any precepts. Only when you do something or when you say something do you break the precept. I hope you remember the 3 levels of mental defilements. The latent level, coming up or coming to the surface level, and transgression level. So among these 3, the target of Sīla is defilements at transgression level. That means if you keep Sīla, you do not transgress anything, you do not break any of the moral precepts. And so Sīla is for avoiding or for destroying or for getting rid of defilements, mental defilements at transgression level. On this, Sīla is described in many ways, and for lay people there are different kinds of Sīlas to keep. So there are 5 precepts or 8 uposatha precepts or 8 precepts with livelihood as the 8th and 10 precepts. Now the first of them are the 5 precepts. So you all know the 5 precepts. Actually you have been keeping these 5 precepts for many years, and these 5 precepts are intended to be kept by lay people all the time. These precepts are called the precepts of the people of Kuru country, or the weighty or revered practice. In the Jataka stories, there is one Jataka number 276, where 11 people kept the 5 precepts to the utmost. It's very inspiring to read that story. I'm sorry I cannot tell you this story tonight. So if you are interested, you may read the Jataka number 276. So it is said that in India there is a place called Kuru. It is somewhere around New Delhi in modern India. So people of that country kept these 5 precepts, and so the 5 precepts are known as the precepts of Kuru country. And also, since they practice it with reverence, they practice it seriously, the 5 precepts are also called weighty or revered practice. And these 5 precepts are described as permanent Sīla, that is to be kept permanently, and also they are called natural Sīla. They come naturally to all beings. And it is said that in Buddhist cosmology there are 4 great continents: East, South, West, and North continents. And the inhabitants of North continent keep these 5 precepts by nature. So they do not have to make effort to keep the 5 precepts. So these 5 precepts come to them naturally, and so they are called, the 5 precepts are called naturally established Sīla for them. In Burma there is a saying that you must keep the 5 precepts as you keep the lower garment always on your body. And these 5 precepts are never broken by those who have gained enlightenment. So those who have become Sotapannas, Sakadagamis, Anagamis, and Arahants never break these 5 moral precepts, even in another life. That means, suppose a person becomes a Sotapanna in this life, and then he dies and he is reborn as a human being in another existence. So even in that existence, even if he does not know about his being a Sotapanna, he just naturally keeps these 5 precepts. So he will he will never break any one of these precepts. So the 5 precepts are always kept by those who have gained enlightenment. So we can understand that if one is capable of breaking any one of these rules, one is not an enlightened person. So you all know the 5 precepts: abstention from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and taking intoxicants. Now, with each precept, there are what are called factors or constituents or components. That means some conditions that the fulfillment of which makes one break the precepts. That means if you fulfill these 4 conditions, then you break this precept. If any one of the factors are missing, then you do not break the precept. So they are called factors or constituents or components, and we should understand these factors. The factors of the first precept: abstention from killing. 1, a living being. That means the one that is killed must be a living being. And 2, knowing that it is a living being. So if you do not know that it is a living being and you happen to kill it, then you do not break this rule. So you must know that this is a living being. And the third is the thought of killing. That means the intention to kill. Sometimes unintentionally you may kill an insect. Sometimes you may step on an insect without knowing it. In that case, you do not break the precept. So the thought of killing means the intention to kill. And then the 4th one is the effort. You make an effort to kill. So the act of killing. And then death of the being by that effort. And that being must die. So if these 5 conditions are fulfilled, then you break that precept. In the commentaries regarding killing and also stealing, the means of doing this act are mentioned. You can say you can kill a living being in how many ways? Now there are many means to kill a living being. The first one is killing by yourself. It is in Pali it is called killing with your own hand. So that means killing by yourself. And then the second is killing by command. You give command to another person to kill. And also killing by something you can throw. That means killing by missiles or arrows or bullets or guns. So that is also killing. And also killing by stationary things. That means setting traps and others. And then killing by magical means, and killing by psychic power. So there are many ways of killing, and all these killings are included in this precept. So if you kill yourself, you break this rule. If you ask someone to kill and that person kills it, then you break the precept, and so on. For the second precept, abstention from taking what is not given freely by the owner. There are how many? 5 conditions or 5 factors. And the first one is another's property. So the thing must be the property of another person. And the second is knowing that it is another's property. So when a person steals, let's say when you steal, then you must know that this is the property of another person. That means this belongs to another person. And then the third is the thought of stealing. That is, you want to steal, you have the intention to steal, and the effort, you make the effort, and taking the property by that effort. That means the removing of that property or something like that. So when these 5 conditions are fulfilled, then the second precept is broken. Here also, stealing by oneself, giving command to another to steal and so on, they are also involved here. And the third precept, abstention from sexual misconduct. Now there are four factors. And the first is the forbidden object. That means inviolable person. That means the person with whom you must not have sex. So such a person is called the forbidden object. And then the second factor is the thought of enjoying it. You want to enjoy this relation. And then the third is the effort to enjoy it. You make the effort. And the fourth is tolerating the engaging of one organ with another. That means tolerance of union, sexual union. So these are the 4 factors. If anybody fulfills these 4 conditions, then he is said to break this third precept. The factors for the 4th, abstention from lying, are 4. So the first one is untrue situation. That means something that you lie about must be untrue. And then the thought of deceiving. You want other people to understand wrongly. You have the intention to deceive. And then the effort caused by that thought. That means accordingly you make an effort. And 4th, the other's understanding of the meaning. And the other person understands the meaning immediately after you say the words. So when you fulfill these 4 conditions, you break the 4th precept. And here, what is really bad is when the welfare of another person is destroyed. Sometimes there is what is called white lie. Sometimes you have to lie to make other person feel comfortable, or sometimes you don't want another person to feel sorry and so on, and you have to say something that is not true. So although that is a lie, it may not be too bad. And sometimes people use exaggeration. Like when a monk gets something in the village, then he might come back to the monastery and tells other monks, "Oh, there is a river of oil in the village," something like that. So although those are saying what is not true, they are not bad. And the factors of the fifth precept, which is abstention from taking intoxicants, are four. First is being one or other of the intoxicating drinks such as liquor. So that means what you drink must be a kind of alcohol, a kind of liquor. And the second one is desire to drink the intoxicating drinks. So you want to drink. And then the third is effort caused by that desire. That means following the desire, you make an effort to drink. That means you drink. And fourth is the drink enters one's throat when drunk. So you drink and the drink goes down your throat. So when these four conditions are fulfilled, then you are said to break the fifth precept. So we can check our actions with these factors and conditions when we do something that might involve breaking these rules. For example, the fifth one, there are some people who say, I just drink and I don't do anything, I go to bed. And do I break that rule? It may not be a great akusala, right? you just drink it and you feel a little dizzy and then you go to sleep. You don't do anything bad. But still you break the rule. Because you look at the four conditions. It must be liquor. You want to drink and you drink and the liquor goes down your throat. So when these four things are there, then you break the rule. So although it may not be too bad, but still there is a breaking of the precept if you drink. Now the second kind of Sīla for lay people is the 8 Uposatha precepts. And these 8 Uposatha precepts are kept generally on Uposatha days. Now, in our countries, I don't know whether it is true in Vietnam, the month is divided into two halves, the bright half and the dark half. And on the 8th of the bright half and dark half, and on the full moon day and new moon day, people keep 8 Uposatha precepts. So generally speaking, Uposatha precepts are kept 4 times a month. And these 8 precepts, you are very familiar with these 8 precepts. You are going to take them tomorrow. So among the 8 precepts, the first is the same as that in the 5 precepts. The second also the same as that in 5 precepts. But the third is different. In the 5 precepts, the third is abstention from sexual misconduct, and here the third is abstention from sex altogether. So that is the difference here. And then the fourth is the same as the fourth in the 5 precepts, and the fifth also the same as in the 5 precepts. Is abstention from eating at the wrong time. At the wrong time means after midday. So during the time of the Buddha, it is supposed to be wrong for recluses to eat in the afternoon. So the afternoon is for recluses, for monks, a wrong time for eating. And then number 7 is abstention from dancing, singing, playing musical instruments, witnessing shows that are like spikes. Now, when you watch shows, you get akusala. So they are described as similar to spikes, spears or something. And then wearing garlands, that means not just garlands, flowers, using flowers, embellishing oneself with scents. Actually, sometimes you have some place here, like a hole. How do you call that? And then you want to fill it with some paste or something. You call making over, no? And then beautifying oneself with unguents. That means using perfumes and then all those things. So you are to abstain from all these things. And number 8 is abstention from high-end luxurious seats and beds. So high means more than 1.5 cubits high. That means about 2 feet high. And luxurious means very luxurious, those used by people who enjoy sensual pleasures. So these eight precepts are kept only occasionally and not always, because as lay people having a family, people cannot keep these 8 precepts always. So they are kept only on Uposatha days. Now, as a lay person, if he or she keeps 5 precepts, then his or her moral conduct is said to be pure, and so such a person is praiseworthy. But if, let me say he, right? So if he can keep 8 precepts, it's so much better. But 8 precepts cannot be kept always. But when you take 8 precepts and keep them, you get less akusala. Because when you eat, there is akusala involved, and when you dancing and so on, or when you use flowers and so on, there is akusala involved. So when you abstain from these things, you get less akusala, and also more time to devote to the practice. So it is better to keep 8 precepts than to keep 5 precepts. But as lay persons, if you can keep 5 precepts, so much the better. Now there is another kind of 8 precepts, which can be an alternative to the 8 Uposatha precepts. Now, as you may know, these 8 precepts do not involve abstention from eating after midday. So these 8 precepts are called 8 precepts with livelihood as the 8th. So abstention from wrong livelihood is the 8th, number 8 precept. Then there must be 7 above the 8th. So these 8 precepts are called livelihood as having livelihood as the 8th precept. Now this precept is mentioned in the commentaries, but they do not give how to take these 8 precepts, the formula for taking these precepts. But in Burma, the teachers of old have the formula basing on the formula for taking 5 precepts and 8 precepts. So these 8 precepts are, the first 4 are the same as the first 4 of the 5 precepts. And number 5 is abstention from slander. That means trying to make people divided, trying to break friendship among people. by telling one thing to one person and another thing to another person. So that is called slander here. So abstention from slander. And then the sixth one is abstention from harsh speech, like using abusive words and so on. And then number 7 is abstention from frivolous talk and nonsense talk, talk that does not conduce to wholesome state. And number 8 is the abstention from wrong livelihood. So here the abstention from wrong livelihood is number 8. That is why this set of Sīla is called 8 precepts with livelihood as the 8th or 8th member. Now there is an easier way to remember these 8 precepts. Now you know, or may I ask you, how many misdeeds are there that are done by bodily action? 3, right? And how many misdeeds by speech? 4. So you refrain from these 3 and these 4, 7. The 8th is abstention from wrong livelihood. So you get the 8 precepts. Now there is another set, this time 9 precepts, and they are called 9 Uposatha precepts. And these precepts are also kept on Uposatha days. 9 are the 8 Uposatha precepts plus living with mind associated with Metta pervaded on all beings. It is called 9-limbed Sīla. So here the first 8 are the real precepts. But the 9th, living with mind associated with Metta pervaded on all beings. That means living with the practice of loving kindness on all beings. This is actually not a precept, because the practice of loving kindness is, practice of loving kindness belongs to bhavana, development of mind, and not to Sīla. But in order to embellish the 8 Uposatha precepts, people try to put one more thing here, Metta, as one link to that set of Sīla. And so it is called 9 Uposatha precepts. So when you take these 9 Uposatha precepts, you should be very careful, because you have to say, I will live with my mind associated with Metta pervaded on all beings. That means you have to be practicing loving kindness all the time. So if you get angry, then you may lose this one factor, this one limb. So there is a kind of dialogue whether 9 precepts should be kept or not. But these 9 precepts are mentioned in the texts themselves, in the Anguttara Nikaya, and so they can be kept. But some people say the precept, not, I will live with my mind associated with Metta pervaded on all beings. Instead they say, I will live with my mind associated with Metta pervaded on all beings as much as I can. Or to the best of my ability. Now the last set of precepts that can be kept by lay people is the 10 precepts. And these precepts are very rarely kept, because it is very difficult for lay people to live without handling money and so on. But some lay people may keep these 10 precepts. The first 6 of the same are the same as those of the 8 Uposatha precepts. So up to not eating after midday, the precepts are the same. But the 7th in the 8 Uposatha precepts are divided into 2 here. So 7 in the 8 Uposatha precepts becomes number 7 and number 8 here in the 10 precepts. So when number 7 in the 8 Uposatha precepts become number 7 and 8 in the 10 precepts, we already get 9 precepts. And the last one is abstention from accepting gold and silver, accepting or handling gold, silver, money and others. So these are the 10 precepts. So 10 precepts can be kept by lay people also, but as I said before, it is rarely kept. Now these 10 precepts are kept by samaniras or novices. So for novices, it is a must, a compulsory, these set of 10 precepts. But these are not the only precepts they keep. Now there are many more for them. Now, many people, when they talk about or write about novices, they write that novices keep 10 precepts. Now, that is not complete. Novices have to keep 10, 20, 75, 95 precepts or 95 rules. These 10 precepts, and then the other 10, and then the 75 rules that are common with monks. And so novices keep 95 precepts and not just 10 precepts. Now you must clearly understand this. Sometimes they even write that monks keep 10 precepts. The precepts monks keep how many? 227. So 10 precepts may be among these 227. But you are not to say monks keep 10 precepts. I wish that was true. I only have to keep 10 precepts instead of 227. Now we come to an important point regarding the precepts, and that is we cannot change or modify the precepts. These precepts are taught by the Buddha. And if Buddha were alive now, we might be able to argue with him. But since Buddha is no more, we cannot change them or we cannot modify them. Or we have no right to change or modify them. So it is very important. You keep them as they are taught, say in the text, or you may break them, or you may not keep them at all. That's okay. But you cannot change them, or you cannot modify them. That is, I think, important. Because nowadays, there are people who want to change. Say, these are laid down 2,500 years ago, and so they are out of date now, so we must change this and that. Now people are talking about the 5th precept, use and abuse. So use of alcohol may be permissible. Only abuse is to be avoided. But there is no such saying, say, in the text or in the commentaries. If you drink and it goes down your throat, then you are breaking the rules. So whether you use it for your for the purpose of health, or you drink because you want to drink, the moment you drink and it goes down your throat, you break the rule. So with these precepts, we cannot argue with anybody. We cannot make changes to them. We cannot modify them. If we don't want to, we may not keep them. When I went to Canada this time, I met a lady, a Burmese lady, and she told me when she took precepts, she said, I refrain from killing living beings to the best of my ability. So I told her, no, this is not a precept. You have already made a provision for breaking it. So I will keep it only as much as I can. If I cannot keep it, I will break it or something like that. So precepts should not be like that. So whether you can keep it intact or not is one thing, and saying that I will keep it as much as I can is another. It shows the weakness of determination or weakness of spirit. So I don't think the precept is taken when you say to the best of my ability. Okay, we come to livelihood. An upasaka must follow a right livelihood. That means he must abstain from wrong livelihood. And Buddha taught in Anguttara Nikaya that there are 5 traits that should not be engaged in by an upasaka. So if you are a lay follower of the Buddha, and you should avoid these 5 kinds of trade. And they are trading in weapons, trading in beings, trading in meat, trading in intoxicants, and trading in poisons. Now, trading in weapons means making weapons and selling them. That is the explanation given in the commentary. And in the sub-commentary, a little more is added. Selling weapons, after making them oneself, you make them and then you sell them. Or after having others make them. Or you ask others to make them and then you sell them. Or obtaining them already made. You got already made weapons and then you sell them. So that is trading in weapons. Trading in beings means selling human beings. So selling human beings for slavery and others. And trading in meat means raising animals and selling them. Here also the sub-commentary said selling them after raising them and having their meat ready. So it is prohibited, the sub-commentary explained, because it involves taking life. And trading in intoxicants means making intoxicants and selling them, and trading in poisons, making poisons and selling them. So these 5 kinds of trades are described as wrong livelihood by the Buddha, and so should be avoided, should I say, as much as possible? So a person who takes refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha is expected to keep 5 precepts always, and then keep 8, 9 or 10 precepts when he or she can, and also abstain from livelihoods which are described as wrong. And here are the five kinds of traits. So this is the Sīla, keeping moral conduct pure, is the first step in the spiritual journey. And since it is the first step, it is the basis, it is the firm foundation on which we will build the structure of concentration and wisdom. So without the purification, without the purity of Sīla, we cannot hope to get concentration, and without concentration, wisdom or penetration into the nature of things cannot arise. So Sīla is to be kept pure, especially when you practice meditation. And when you practice meditation, you expect to get concentration. And if your moral conduct is not pure, if your Sīla is not pure, you cannot get concentration, because when your Sīla is not pure, you suffer from the remorseful feelings. And when there is remorse, there can be no peace of mind, and so no tranquility. And when there is no tranquility, there is no comfort of mind. And when there is no comfort of mind, there can be no concentration. So Sīla, or keeping moral conduct pure, is an important practice actually for all people, especially for those who follow the teachings of the Buddha and who want to reach the stage where all mental defilements are eradicated.